It's Saturday, August 1st, 2026. Recorded live from the English Valley's History Center. Here's Jackie.
Hi, Jackie Geringer McDermott, and I want to show you some of the acquisitions we've been getting lately. These buttons are from a collection from a box of items from Jim and Ruth Ada Sauter and the A.H. Brune family. And also in that same box was this little gem from the Rotary Club. Jim was a longtime member of that. And I'd also like to acknowledge that we got some history books this morning from Jill Miller Millar. And also Vicki Pope was here last week with a book from the Scottish Rite Consistory that we didn't even know existed, which was kind of interesting. And Vicki's also going to be joining me later this year as they promote the 175th at Millersburg. So we'll hear more from her in the future. This quilt was an object we talked about last week. It's from South English, and we believe it has the names of many of the women who were members of the 20th Century Club in South English. Angie Allison, who was Angie Weber when she signed her name to this quilt, told us that information last Saturday. Shown in the picture are Robert Kaufman on the left, whose mother, Catherine Kaufman, had possession of the quilt, and then Jim Grove, and Jackie McDermott, and Maxine Hervey, whose name is on the quilt. Maxine remembers she attended the club when she took her mother-in-law, Amy Hervey, to meetings of the 20th Century Club in South English. Shown in this picture also is Maxine's husband, Darrell Hervey, the son of the quilt signer, Amy Hervey. Now we're going to go on with the diaries. This diary was written by Libby Wade. She was my dad's great aunt, and her full name was Mary Elizabeth Claypool Wade. We are now skipping ahead to 1954 in the diaries. It is possible that other diaries exist, but we don't know where they would be. Lib was 79 years old in January of 1954. She lived in a house on East Oak Street in North English, Iowa, with her son, Russell Wade. Here's a picture of Lib on the left with the children of her brother, Benton Claypool. Jaunty Claypool, Otis Claypool, and in the front, Louise Claypool Long and Bertha Claypool Geringer. Monday, January 25th, 1954. Fuel oil tank of gas, 73 gallons, $11.32. I start in a new book today. It is cloudy and snow is predicted. Snowing in southwest part of the state this morning. Temperature is moderate. I sent Anna's letter, also sent one to Sears Roebuck and Company, and reply to one I received in which they claimed I owed them 85 cents. I paid that a month ago when I ordered the rubber ring for my pressure pan. A mistake somewhere. Anna Cray is Liv's married daughter who lives in Texas, and they write letters to each other nearly every day. Russell was out to Reese's yesterday. Mrs. Reese died yesterday forenoon. Russell took the hospital bed back to the Legion Hall and helped in other ways. Her body was taken to the funeral home. Mildred stayed alone last night. I felt sorry for her, but she is used to depending on herself and was so tired. I hope she got to rest. Ursula and her son are near. Doris was there yesterday but went home. A few friends and relatives called, but they left too. It will be a lonely life if she stays alone, but one has to have time to get adjusted. Russell Wade is Lib's son, and she lives in his house with him. See ya. Mildred Reese is Russell's girlfriend. Barbara Reese is Mildred's mother, who passed away. Mildred's father, John Reese, passed away in 1951. Ursel Markwell Reese, who lived to be 102 years old, and her son Orlin, or Timmy Reese, live nearby. Ursel is the widow of Mildred's brother Raymond Reese, who died in 1951. Doris Roller Reese, who I need to find a picture of. Lib said Doris was at the Reese home yesterday. Doris taught school at English Valley for many years. Doris was the wife of Mildred's brother Harold Reese, and their three children are Janet, John, and James Reese. Mildred's other brother, Walter Reese, passed away in 1918. Mildred is shown in this picture with her three brothers: Mildred, Raymond, Harold, and Walter. I washed my hair. It is quite a job for me, but must be done occasionally. After dinner I was tired and rested a while. Was in the kitchen to finish some work and someone came to the door. I opened it and Willie Welch was there. I knew him at once. Hasn't changed much. He drove here from New York. Visited his sister Mina in Columbus, Ohio on the way. He works on the St. Lawrence River. They haul iron ore and grain, etc., to Boston and other places. I worked for them 38 years ago when their daughter Lucille was a baby. They lived then out by Pigeon. He and his wife parted. She married again. They have a daughter, Nona, 16. She lives with her mother. Lucille has 6 children. Willie Welch's mother was a Knipfer, and his father was a Welch from Parnell. Here he is with his sisters, Mina and Lena, and older brother Albert. Lena came up this PM, the first time since she had her tonsils removed. She looks pretty white yet. Her throat is not entirely healed. It's swollen some. I hope she don't take cold. Lena Wallace Wade is Liv's daughter-in-law, married to her son Warren, or Mike Wade. Russell went out to Mildred's this evening. The roads are icy, but I guess he will make it. Warren said the bus was not so bad to run. It is heavy and don't slide around much. Russell ordered a dozen red roses for the funeral tomorrow, Mrs. Reese's funeral. Mr. Bender's funeral is tomorrow morning too at Armagh. Lena didn't think she should go because of her throat. Radio announced that a freezing mist is still falling at 10 p.m., so it will be bad. Mike Wade drives a school bus. The Mr. Bender that died was Alfred Bender. He was married to Teresa Hurd, who passed away in 1949. Their children were William, who died at the age of 2, Marie Reitzler, Martha Fricke, and 5 more sons, Albert, Harold, Clement, Francis, and Lawrence Bender. And here are Alfred and Teresa Bender. January 26th, Tuesday, 1954. Everything is covered with ice. Cars are going, but drivers have to be careful. Russell said someone slid off in the ditch last night out near the Warner Brothers place. He went to work this a.m., went to the funeral in the p.m. It is surely a bad time. Temperature at noon today is 22 degrees above zero. Russell was to take Ursel and her family, Bonnie and her husband, Ursel and Orlin. Bonnie and her husband are to go to Iowa City via bus at 5. Dangerous any way they go. Russell always has a nice car, so he could help transport the family members during the funeral. Bonnie Reese Parker is the daughter of Ursel and Raymond Reese. She was a nurse. She and her husband, John Parker, came back to stay in North English for a time in their later years. Ursel built this house in town at 120 East Oak in the 1950s. Tracy called me today. I think she is pretty lonely too. Alone. Can't go or have company. Tracy Kelly Geringer Wallace is my paternal great-grandmother and Lib's friend. She lives down on East Washington Street or Smoky Row, and her walks uptown are definitely impacted by the winter weather conditions. I talked to Aunt Minnie. She is getting rags torn for a rug. I have no ambition along that line at all anymore. I ordered groceries to last until spring. Anyway, quite a box full. Made fruit salad so we have something ready. Minnie said that Marion was sick and in bed when Roys were down to see her. A cold, she thought. Aunt Minnie Claypool was not Lib's aunt. She was her sister-in-law. She is shown here in this picture with her husband Werner and her 5 boys. Minnie is talking about weaving a rug from old rags. Marion Claypool was Minnie's granddaughter, the daughter of Roy and Gail Claypool. Roy and Gail and their 4 girls are shown in this picture. Marion suffered a stroke with lifelong complications. It began snowing about 5 this evening. Will make driving even worse, I think. Russell is not home yet, nearly 6. He came about 10. It had quit snowing, and he cleaned our walks before he came in to stay. There was 5 or 6 inches of snow, light. Makes driving hazardous. Hear on radio of accidents. None near here that I know of. No school tomorrow at Parnell or Williamsburg. Received a call from Mamie Jordan from Glendale, Arizona. They are having a nice time. Mamie Jordan's maiden name was Long, and she was a sister to Carrie Wade. She was the mother of Pauline Reed of North English and her siblings, so she was Amy Andreessen's great-grandmother. January 27th, 1954, Wednesday. Clear and bright, everything covered with snow. Men out shoveling the snow from walks. I was late again about getting up, but was busy all a.m. Made a date cake. Cooked meat and turnips and baked potatoes with the new potato rack. A device to put the potatoes on, a sort of metal peg. Claimed they cook quicker and better. Hadn't tried it before. Russell laughs at me for buying it. It worked all right anyway. I assume the potato rack looks something like this. Alta Lacey called me this p.m. She is making an edge for a hanky that was given me at Christmas. Alta Lacey was the grandmother of Rhonda DeFrance and a neighbor of Lib's on East Clark Street. She said the Halls and Murphy family started early this morning for the funeral of Mrs. Halls' mother. She died at her son's over by the county home. She was Mrs. Martha Axtell, 82. Funeral and burial at Columbus Junction. It would be a bad trip the way the roads are. Leroy Murphy, shown in this picture, who was a prisoner of war in World War II, and his wife, Virginia Murphy, owned the pool hall uptown in the 1960s and later lived in South English where their son Roger still resides today. Leroy's mother was Edith Halls, and Martha Axtell would have been her mother. I talked to Mary R. last evening. She didn't get her new plumbing done yet. The man has had the flu. Mary Regseger, shown in the back row on the right with her late husband Fred and his family, is Lib's friend who lives down the street at 224 East Oak Street. Russell went out to see how Mildred is getting along. Timmy was there. They sold some of their hogs, 40 today, so that will mean less chores. A lot of work goes on behind the scenes to keep the History Center operating. This includes cataloging accessions, creating displays, coordinating and preparing for monthly programs, responding to requests from family and community histories, keeping up the social media, finances, cleaning, maintenance, and providing treats for programs. There's a whole lot more activity that supports the center operations, and it is largely contributed through time and effort by the board of directors and volunteers. The History Center board is composed of Dave Jackson, president, Scott Romine, vice president, Bonnie Romine, secretary, Don Banning, treasurer, and directors Carolyn Elwood, Shelley Gerard, Alan Ackerman, and Dan Best. Please send donations to the English Valleys History Center, P.O. Box 70, North English, Iowa 52316. The Smoky Row Trail was dedicated at 5:30 p.m. on July 24th during North English Fun Days. The Smoky Row Trail is a half-mile trail for walkers and runners and dogs, starting on North Boland Avenue, going past a bridge, and ending at a shelter and picnic area. Here is a picture of some of the attendees that afternoon. In attendance were two of the daughters of Jim and Louise Lockridge, Linda and Kay. Their brother Steve is deceased, and their sister Jane is a resident at the care center. Shown in this picture are Linda and Kay and their cousins, Sherry Lockridge Moffett and Susan Lockridge Miller. Jim and Louise Lockridge donated the land for Smoky Row Trail, and then the area was improved by citizen groups, a construction group from the school, and local scouts. Jim grew up on Smoky Row, and he and Louise raised their family there. Shown here are Lynn Moffett, Sherry's husband, and Robert or Butch Wilkerson. Butch has only lived in two homes in his life: across the street where he was raised by his parents Bill and Hattie Wilkerson, and in his present home on Smoky Row, where he and wife Colleen raised their children. We believe Butch is the oldest continuous resident of North English. We had a wonderful day at the History Center last Saturday with over 200 people in attendance. I sure hope that the annual alumni reunion can become an annual, every year event. I believe Ross Knipfer from the class of 1953 was the oldest graduate in attendance at the History Center during Fun Days last week. Shown here are some more recent graduates and Ross. On the left is Governor Lightfoot, Ross Knipfer, Miles Grove, and Bryson Grove. Dale Vercondi, shown here with his wife Darlene Lown Vercondi, was the second oldest graduate in attendance last Saturday. Jerry Humphreys Westfall from Missouri was the third oldest graduate from North English that attended the festivities Saturday at the History Center. Shown from left are her daughter Kathy, sister Janice, brother Tom, sister Joanne, and on the right is Jerry. Jerry is a faithful listener and looks forward to my show each week. The class of 1964 celebrated their 80th birthday year at the History Center on Fun Days weekend. Left to right they are Gary Schultz, Richard Fry, Darrell Aldridge, Nancy Rustbolt Keating, Darrell Newberry, Carolyn Warner Elwood, Maxine Castile MacDonald, Helen Westfall Popham, Louise Smith Avery, Patty Struble Buswell, Richard Pierce, and Linda Stankenberg Melsha. My brother Lou Geringer and I had our picture taken. Lou helps set up the parade each year, and his class had their 50th reunion that day. Here are some of his classmates who stopped by to talk to us at the History Center. Pam Kaufman-Greder, Kevin Bauslag, Linda Holden Carter, Lou Geringer, Kate Scandridge Baldwin, and Marcy Osweiler Fotadas. Greg and Elvia Wilkerson are living in North English now and had their picture taken with me. We say they live in Churchill's house, or as others might call it, the former Joanne and Larry Harris house on East Oak Street. And here I am with Malia Wilkerson, Dan Best, and Jenny Garrett. Here are Ruth Carter John and John Gregan, members of the class of 1966. Ruth Carter John is a descendant of the William Carter line and will be sending some pictures of her mother Gladys Ermsher's family. She and her sister Nancy Ermsher Faber were here from out of state for their class reunions. John Gregan comes to North English Fun Days each year and his Gregan/Gerard family reunion. My great-nephew Sam came to the History Center after the parade to say hello, but we already had the broadcast table torn down. Thank you for stopping to see me, Sam, and I hope that you can visit someday when I am talking on TV. Sam also made it up to see my parents' old house on the hill south of Casey. And here is a picture of Sam standing on Summit Street across from the former Harry and Daisy Doherty home. Correspondence. Mark Claypool said, Jackie, the history today is so interesting. Each week I relive my childhood, and it's such a comfort to go back in time and think of the early days. Mark and his brother Mike Claypool were here last Saturday and are shown in this picture with Pam Kaufman-Greder. Sharon Hagan from Williamsburg said, very interesting today about my great-grandparents' pettibones. Pam Kavanaugh-Shield from Cedar Rapids said, thank you, Jackie, for another walk in history. Looking forward to next Saturday with my siblings, Randy, Rick, and Jody. Been a long time since we've been able to attend fun days together. Here are Jody, Pam, Randy, and Rick Kavanaugh in front of the picture of their dad down at the creamery. Their dad was Ralph Kavanaugh. I found out that Jody and his wife, Tabitha Kavanaugh from Tennessee, are faithful listeners. My classmate, Helen Kirkpatrick Schwiedert from Colesburg, Iowa and Lake Placid, Florida, called to tell me that her cousin Mike McClellan suffered a heart attack while on Ragbri last week. Mike has been on the bicycle ride for 48 years and was grateful to be saved by medical personnel nearby. After heart surgery and healing, he is expected to make a full recovery. Mike McClellan is a faithful listener and as a member of the Carter/Pettibone line, in addition to the Kirkpatrick family. Vicki Johnson from California said, I enjoyed listening to today's broadcast and found myself wondering how did Washington Street get the name Smoky Row? The other comment I want to make is that the bride's dress was beautiful. Thank you, Jackie. I believe the name of Smoky Row is because the English Valley's Cooperative Creamery was just west of Washington Street, so when the smoke was rolling from the chimneys of the creamery and or from the locomotives on the trains, it blew in an easterly direction down East Washington Street. There may be other explanations too. Yes, Mary Ann Harris Fuller was a lovely bride in a beautiful dress, and she was a lovely woman too. And I have a donation from Mary Ann Fuller's collection of memorabilia. These are rulers from days long ago in Millersburg. Mary Ann Harris was married to Dick Fuller, and his parents were Cloyd or Jinx Fuller and Esther Pope Fuller. Esther was originally from Millersburg. Mary Ann's family will also have some more items coming our way soon. And this one says Cheney Hardware, Millersburg, Iowa. And this one we know is from a long time ago because it says phone 27. And it's from Alfred E. Shaw Implement Company. The next alumni luncheon will be on the Main Street at the Main Street Pub and Grub on August 31st. Please contact Alice Stramer or Linda Carter for seating. The next program at the History Center will be at 2 p.m. on Saturday, August 30th, Sunday, August 30th, and will be Sandra Kessler host with What Happened to the Highway. Please join us for the program and treats. A free will donation is taken. The Keokuk County Historical Society and Museum has a Facebook page that you might be interested in joining. They shared an article this week about white pigeon. I learned a few new things about the Pigeon Road area. We are also interested in learning about historical English Valley items that you might wish to donate to the History Center. Please contact Dave Jackson, Scott Romine, or any board member to donate. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.